Hey there team, in this video I'm going to go through the 12 volt setup. I had a question about the 12 volt setup, so that's what we're going to do today, so tune in. Alrighty, so this is a little bit about the 12 volt system, 12 volt setup, dual battery system, whatever you want to call it. So I ended up going with the Redarc, what's it called, the BCDC 1225D. They're not a cheap unit, but they are awesome. Made in Australia, and tested and proven pretty much for what we want to do. Previously I had been just tapping into the SIG lighter or SIG plug, which doesn't give out that enough amps. So as I was driving with the fridge on, it would just slowly drain the battery, not as fast as having it unplugged, but wasn't doing the system. So there's the unit there, screwed it into the top of the battery box. You can see on the front there's a whole lot of different little light thingies. So at the moment A is flashing, that means that there's a AGM battery in there. You got B, C and Li for lithium. The charge statuses, so there's solar, so if you got a solar panel out, it'll pick that up. There's like a solar plug down the side here, so I've got that plugged in to a little volt amp watt meter, so I can just see how much I'm drawing, which is pretty cool to see. Vehicle, once you start it up, it's drawing straight off the alternator. It's drawing straight off your crank battery, which is pretty cool. And then stage, so there's 3 different stages. There's float, boost, and another stage, but it flashes different orientations or different amounts depending on what stage of the battery or what stage the battery's at with the charge. Yeah, I went and actually saw an auto sparky to get this all wired in, because you're spending a little bit of money, you don't want to cock it up. But yeah, so she's all good, she's wired in. It runs full length of the car with the positive wire to the battery, and there's a blue wire which comes off the back of the unit itself, and that's also run up to something under the engine bay which gives you ignition, which turns on with ignition. So we just put we tapped that into I think one of the rear electric windows, so when the ignition's on, this unit will kick on, and then a few seconds later it does its little smart device thing, checks what stage of how many amps and volts are in the battery, then it starts cranking. As soon as you turn the car off, once it detects that the ignition's off, this thing powers down so it doesn't chew up your crank battery. This little doodacky is something pretty cool as well. So it's KT power meter. I picked it up from Super Cheap Autos. It's got an input and an output, and it gives you a bunch of information on there. So I've got 13 volts, which is 90%. At the moment the fridge isn't on, so it's just showing no other info. The fridge has been off, so it's like room temperature. So I'll go ahead and I'll kick that on, and we'll see if I tap it again. There we go. So I can see there that the fridge is drawing 2.8 amps, 31.5 30-ish watts. So that's cool to know. Keep an eye on that. Big picture while you're out camping, so you don't drain your batteries out. Yeah, pretty nifty, pretty cheap. I think it was like $40, 35, $40. Yeah, and just double Anderson plugs. So in either side, it's just a Anderson, super easy. Also bolted that onto the old battery box. Yeah, pretty much under the bonnet. This bad boy here follows this loom and this conduit. Got it coming from the battery all the way over. This is like a little relay fuse box. So inside there is the power windows. We've tapped in for the small blue wire for the ignition. And then I had the grubby job of tracing this loom. She goes all the way down, and then it goes across the axle at the back, and then we just tapped in behind this left rear headlight. We've got the wires just coming out just there. You might be able to see it. Yeah, up there, oh, you can see that's where I ran in earth. But yeah, there's the conduit there, and she goes the full length.